Welcome, and thank you for tuning in. You're listening to the Beyond 50 radio program. I'm Daniel Davis. On the program today, we're going to take a wonderful journey down the way that we can actually find out about 18 safe yet potent antibiotic and antiviral herbs from around the world. We're going to learn how that we can use these and what illnesses such as best suited to treat. We'll also learn about how natural antibiotics have antiviral properties that lack side effects, have no adverse effects on targeted bacteria such as intestinal flora. Our guest today is a naturopath and author out of Switzerland who has studied naturopathy at the School of Paris under the supervision of P.V. Macherceau and Alain Rousseau. In 1979, he started his own practice, and alongside his therapeutic work, he continued his formation by studying the works of famous naturopaths from around the world. The newest book is Natural Antibiotics and Antivirals, 18 infection-fighting herbs and essential oils. I'd like to welcome to the Beyond 50 radio program today our guest, Dr. Christopher Vassie. Dr. Vassie, thank you for being on the Beyond 50 radio program today.
Yeah, hello, Daniel. Well, it's a pleasure.
Now, this is an exciting thing to be pursuing, especially that you're hearing a lot now about people who are going in to become treated for, infections, things like that, and finding that now the body is getting to a point that it no longer, that antibiotics are effective. It kind of makes you wonder what's going on out there.
Yeah, it's in fact what happens is that the microbes can build resistance against the antibiotic, and the reason they do it is that antibiotics are used a lot, too much, in fact, and not in an adequate way either. Sometimes, so that the microbes are in contact with the antibiotic. But the antibiotic doesn't kill them. They only attack the microbe. And the microbe, as any living being, wants to survive and will fight against the antibiotic. And it will develop different strategies to neutralize the antibiotic. So then we are in a situation where the germ knows how to neutralize the antibiotic. So next time the person has the same kind of illness or with the same kind of germ, the antibiotic given will not work to kill the germ. So that's a problem. It's very common nowadays, and this leads to that antibiotics are even prescribed more often because as the infection is not cured, other antibiotics have to be given and so forth, so that more and more microbes are developing resistance.
So there's no doubt that there's definitely a growing resistance by many to antibiotics now. Are there any harmful side effects antibiotics might have to the body?
Yes, there are many side effects which can arise. One of them is that the antibiotics destroy the intestinal flora, because the intestinal flora is made of many germs, all sorts of bacteria, fungi, yeast, and so forth. But usually they are beneficial germs which help our body to digest. But they are germs, they are living beings, and antibiotics are directed against germs. So what can happen is that the antibiotic taken destroy the pathological germ, but they also destroy the germs of the intestinal flora. So that leads to problems, digestive problems, like not digesting correctly, bloating, constipation, diarrhea, and so forth.
Now, let's talk about, for instance, the cellular terrain, especially, in the intestines. What good and bad bacteria actually are when it comes to defending the body against infectious diseases?
Well, there are billions of microbes in the intestinal flora. Some are harmless. They just do their work, which is to help us digest the food. Others are nasty germs, dangerous germs, but those are only in small amounts, small numbers of them, because the presence of so many good bacteria is a hindrance to the development of those bad germs. So the problem is that when the antibiotic destroy a part of the intestinal flora, it's mostly good germs, useful germs, which are destroyed. And as they are destroyed, the nasty germs will have more space to expand, to live. They have more food to feed on, and they will then multiply. And this will give place to infections with a starting point in the intestine. It's not a microbe which comes outside of the body, from outside of the body and then in and triggers an infection. It's an infection which starts inside the body because of the deficiencies of the intestinal flora.
Now, I'm curious about you're seeing this a lot more now about the mind-gut connection, especially in relation to children on the autistic spectrum. Would it be fair to say, if this is true, that there could be an imbalance in this intestinal flora to such a degree that this could be causing what appear to be spectrum-like symptoms, and if so, could that be reversed just through a simple change in the intestinal flora alone?
Yes, it could. The microbes, the bacteria and so forth, they are living beings, so they eat and they excrete different waste products. Some of them are harmless, but some are not. Some toxins which are secreted are very dangerous, but usually they are in a small amount. But if there's a deficiency in the intestinal flora, an unbalance, some germs which produce poison toxins will produce more as there are more of them, and those toxins then are carried by the blood everywhere in the body, and they can be carried to the brain, and they can hinder the functioning of the brain, act on the nerves and neurons and so forth. And then that can trigger different problems, psychic problems. I mean, some people can have a difficulty to concentrate, or they can also become a bit depressed or not. Well, different possibilities. And that's the result of this overproduction of toxins by some of the germs of the intestinal flora. So the way to cure this is to act on the cause and to rebalance the intestinal flora.
Now, I'm also curious too. What are good ways or effective ways that we can detoxify the body to rebuild the cellular terrain?
To build what?
Rebuild the cellular terrain.
Yeah. Well, it's a notion in natural medicine that the most important in the body is the internal cellular environment, what is also called the terrain. It's made of all the liquids which are in the body, and that represent more than 70%. That's all the cellular fluids, the blood, the lymph, and so forth. And there's an ideal composition of this terrain which enables the cells to work correctly, and to the human system to be very powerful and kill any germs which come in the body. Now, as soon as this ideal composition of the terrain is lost, well, it becomes very an environment which is very beneficial for nasty germs, because and this deficiency of the terrain is that either it will accumulate too much waste products, toxins, or that the person is lacking in vitamin and minerals and so forth. So to correct terrain which is full of toxins, one has to detox the organism. That is stimulating the excretory organs such as the liver, the intestine, the kidneys, the skin, so that they work more than usual and eliminate a lot of toxins. Diet is also possible to help in that field. And the other way of correcting the terrain is to take vitamin, mineral supplements Well, we in natural medicine will suggest to take natural supplements like bee pollen or bee pollen and ginseng and other different things which are produced by nature and full of vitamin and minerals.
Now, let's talk about some food supplements that we should be taking that can actually help us do this as well.
So, I suppose when the intestinal flora is in a bad state, it means that the good microbes of the intestinal flora are in a small number. And to increase their number, the best way to do it is to give them foods which they need to be healthy and to multiply. And these foods are the foods which are rich in fibers, vegetable fibers, that is all the fruits, the vegetables, nuts, cereals, whole cereals, and things like lentils and so forth. All those foods is the good foods these good bacteria needs. That's one way of rebuilding the intestinal flora. And the other way is to take things which supplements, they are called probiotic supplements, which are in fact germs which have been prepared in a special way to be absorbed by the body, and then when they are in the intestine, in this warm and humid surrounding, they will become alive again and help to build up the intestinal flora again.
Now, I know when people take a look at your book, Natural Antibiotics and Antivirals, and they'll take a look at some of the herbs and essential oils that you feature in here, they'll think to themselves, geez, if this is so good, maybe more is better. What do you have to say to people like that? Because that could actually get a little dangerous, wouldn't it?
Yes. When one takes plants or essential oils, where any remedy, the dosage is important. One has to follow a specific way to take them, and more is not always and better. Not more, not less. It should be the correct dosage. It's true for allopathic remedies. It's also true for natural remedies, and especially for essential oils, because some of them are very gentle. They can be rubbed on the skin or taken swallowed, and that can be done easily. But some essential oil are very strong, aggressive, and caustic, and that would lead the person to have a lot of trouble. It can burn their stomach or skin and so forth. So the dosage is really important.
Yeah, I thought I'd bring that up because, like I said, a lot of times, especially in America, we tend to have this attitude, well, if it's good for me, then more should be better, and they try to basically, what should I say, accelerate, let's say, the healing process of the potential of what these things do. And the fact is, especially when it comes to herbal supplements, you know, you can overload on the body to a degree. That can be, you know, hard on the kidneys, the liver, things like that. But if you do it in degrees, you actually, just as you suggest, do it by the way it's suggested to use, and over time you'll find that the acceleration rate of reversal is actually much greater and more solid, more deeply rooted, correct?
Yes, it's correct, because this is a natural way of treating, taking remedies. It's respecting nature, the physiological process, so it's more effective than to try to push things too quickly, to act too rashly.
So now let's go ahead and talk about some of the, I guess, herbs that you feature in your book. A couple of them that people might be surprised about what it is they exactly are good for.
Yes. Well, first, the herbs can be taken in different forms. They can be taken in the form of teas, an infusion, like many people have thyme in their garden. They can take a branch of thyme, put it in water, let it sat for 10 minutes, and then drink it. The antibiotic virtue of the plant will be in the water, and it can help fight infections. Of course, they will have to take several cups a day and for several days. But plants can also be taken in the form of mother tincture. There the plant is put in alcohol and the active substance come out of the plant and go into the alcohol, and then the person will take a certain number of drops 3 or 4 times a day with water, and he will beneficiate from the antibiotic virtues of the plant. Or it can be in essential oils. Plants like peppermint or so, they have small bubbles of oil in their leaves, and by special process, this oil can be taken out of the plant and then gathered in bottles, and then one has to take a certain number of drops every day. But it is very powerful. Just to show you how powerful it is, one has to take 100 kilo of eucalyptus leaves in order to get 3 kilos of essential oil. And for thyme, one needs 100 kilo of leaves of thyme to get 200 grams of essential oil. So essential oils are very concentrated, and that's why they're very effective. But some of them are very harsh on the body and must be taken with caution. Others can be taken more easily. And those who are very caustic should be taken with dispersants. It's a special product which emulsify the essential oil. That is, it breaks it in very small drops, which are then less aggressive for the body.
You know, one of the things I like to do for myself is in the mornings I make green smoothies where I might use, let's say, a whole bunch of spinach, and then I might put a pear in there, and then I have a couple of dehydrated supplements that I'll put in there, like I'll use chlorella powder, I'll use spirulina, and maybe some cacao powder, maybe a tablespoon of each one of those. But this isn't a full blender. I'm kind of thinking maybe that's, the right amount there, but I certainly notice a difference in how I feel, and that could be a way that you would also suggest that people use things like this, in small amounts over time.
Yes, well, in my book, I give a very precise dosage for each plant, depending on if it's a mother tincture or essential oil, because the dosage I give are safe and people can start with that. If people know that they are very sensitive to plants or react very strongly sometimes, then they should start with a lower dosage and each day increase the dosage until they come to the normal dosage. It's gaining time to go slowly.
Right, exactly. I'm kind of curious because we're talking about things such as virals and things like that. Would you consider that cancer is something that could be a viral?
Well, some doctors say that some kind of cancers are triggered by viruses. But they can also, there are many explanations for cancer. It can also be triggered by heavy metals or other kind of poisons, tobacco, too much alcohol, and so forth. It can also be triggered by a lack of vitamins, minerals, and so forth. There are many, many different kind of causes. And we, in natural medicine, we think that the basic cause of cancer is that the internal terrain is in a bad state. It's too full of toxins and lacking in nutrients, and therefore the body is in a poor state. It cannot fight against the multiplication of cancerous cells, because our immune system can fight microbes, but it can also fight cancerous cells, because the immune system, its aim is to destroy everything which is harmful for the body. So cancerous cells are also harmful, and in theory, the immune system should be able to destroy them when they start to multiply, or even avoid that they start multiplying. But for this, the internal terrain should be in a good state.
You know, it's just so intriguing to find out that out there in nature's kingdom that this is all right at our fingertips, and yet we've chosen to allow science to be the guiding guru, if you will, about how we should heal and reverse health conditions. In your years, which are many, being in this field here, what would you like to say to the listeners when it comes to reversal of a lot of, if not pretty much all diseases? You know, it's kind of stretching it there, but, you know, what are the possibilities in going this more natural direction, both in the effectiveness of the treatment itself as well as side effects versus the traditional scientific modality that we seem to be worshiping?
Yes, well, I would say that anybody who wants to get have a better health, or who has illnesses but not too severe ones, can start straight away going to see a naturopath or someone, herbalist, to work on his internal terra. And that is detoxifying, with taking plants to stimulate the kidneys, the liver, and so forth, or doing sauna to sweat toxins out, and so forth. Take food supplements to get all the vitamins necessary. All that are things which anybody can start anytime, and it will be good for them. Now, if someone is dependent on a very specific pharmaceutical remedy, I would not suggest that he just throws everything in the dustbin. He should talk with his doctor and switch slowly, progressively to natural remedies. But that's only for when the remedies are really important to take. Sometimes it's not so necessary, or not necessary at all, and then people can switch to natural remedies, which are of the herb kingdom, plant kingdom. That is herbal medicinal herbs. And there are many, for many different, all the different illnesses. It's just a question of buying a book which talks about them, and to find, or to go and consult someone who knows about it.
Now, I know that on the program, you know, we certainly don't look to point fingers as though there's the bad guys against, you know, doctors practicing conventional medicine any more than pharmaceutical companies who are making the drugs available for things that people are seeking out to have resolved. But, you know, at the same time, from what I see here with your books, as well as what you've been sharing here on the program, is it seems more complimentary, like, you know, look, don't bypass and walk away from those guys as though they're bad, but see how you can ease this new protocol in and experience the effects, you know, in conjunction with your doctor. Because I've found in quite a few cases, actually, where people do that. You know, there's the conventional way that we all grew up believing was good for us, and by some accounts it actually is. But then they decide to begin their research in conjunction with working with the current doctor they may have, start getting really unique results, and then the doctors start thinking, you know, I kind of want to learn a little bit more about that. You know, and then you see a real, I guess, team effort happening here versus, you know, for instance, I'll give you an idea. I was watching a show the other night, I think it's called The Good Doctor, and here were these parents adamantly, and they had a teenage son, and they had never vaccinated him. You know, and they were real hardcore about, well, we're just not going to do that. It's like, well, where did you get your research to tell you that this was a bad thing or a good thing one way or the other? So I guess, especially with this day and age, with the Internet, you can certainly support your own biases, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're getting the right information. What would you like to say to people like that so that they can be aware of the decisions and courses of action that they're taking?
Well, on the Internet, as you say, you can really find everything, and it's a bit dangerous. Maybe one should find websites which are serious, which are known to be serious and reasonable, or to find books which are written by reasonable people, and that way to find their way, and then start practicing natural medicine, that is changing the way the people eat, to eat more healthy food in quantities which are more healthy also, doing exercise, taking plants, and getting into the logic of the natural medicine approach. And the more the person advances in this approach, the more he knows about it, the more also he knows about himself, his body, his weaknesses, and so forth. He learns what are the plants which can help him when he has, if he's weak with the kidneys, which plant can help, and so forth. It's a learning process. The patient becomes more and more knowledgeable about himself, his body, and how to help himself. And with this change, the internal terrain will be much stronger. The person will be less often ill or not ill at all anymore. And when there's a problem, well, if it's a light problem, he can deal with for it himself, or ask for a naturopath to help. And when it's really something too difficult, well, he'll go to the doctor and see what can be done. One has to be not exaggerate, but find the best help where it can be given.
And certainly, as I suggested, this day and age, use things in complementation of each other, not try to, run and say, well, this is just better than that. Just kind of, after all, just take a look at what your goal is and see how you can arrive there, in the best possible way. Where's a website people can find out more about your work, how they can get the book, things like that? Because I know I was on it. You've got videos on there, and there's other books that you've published. I mean, there is a lot of information and really some fascinating things that I think the listener will really enjoy.
Yeah, my website address is ChristopherVasey.ch. Vasey is V-A-S-E-Y. So Christopher Vasey in one word, .ch. And on my website, I present my books. There's a picture of the book, the content of the book. There are excerpts and a summary of it, and then articles in relation with the books. There are also, as you said, different videos, and also a few books which people can download freely, free to download. So the website is ChristopherVasey.ch. Many different subjects have been treated on the website in relation with the different books I've written, the acid-alkaline diets or liver detox, or the naturopathic way with a general book on naturopathy, and so forth.
As you bring up liver detox, here was something fascinating I found out about, 5-6 years ago. And it was really funny because of how we've actually created this war in America on this plant, this weed, if you will. And that is the war on dandelions. Got to get that round up and kill those dandelions out in the yard. And then I came to find out, wait a minute, these are actually a really good weed for detoxifying the liver, and they're actually very high in nutrition, and I didn't realize this. And I started letting them grow in my yard. My neighbor's like, don't you think you ought to do something about that? I said, are you kidding me? This is nature's medicine out here. Are you out of your mind? All you got is a golf course over there. And then just recently, I did an interview with a lady on, call it colonial cooking. Okay, so this was like a cookbook that she put together with stories and how to cook on the open hearth from the 1800s, the way they used to. And believe it or not, dandelions were listed in there. This is something that the early settlers were actually using quite frequently in their diets.
Yeah,
Pretty amazing.
And in fact, for someone who knows about medicinal herbs, when you go for a walk in the countryside, you're walking on medicinal herbs the whole time. But you've got to know about them. You've got to learn how to recognize them. But they're all over the place. There are many. Dandelion is a good example, but there are many others.
Yeah, there's nettle. It's really cool, and I'm just suggesting this at the end of the program to get people to understand. Don't just sit on the internet or pick up books and learn this stuff. find one on, natural edible plants and medicinal plants that are out there, and you'll be surprised as you go on your walk, as you said, how it feels like you've been out there walking 5 minutes, and the next thing you know, you've walked 3 miles just because you're trying to identify certain plants, and you become fascinated with this world and how available it's made itself to you. And it all becomes really a fascinating journey all the way around.
Yeah, I agree with you, totally.
Well, Dr. Vassy, it's been a pleasure to have you here on our program. Again, go ahead and give out that website for our listeners where they can find out more.
Yes, my website where I present my books, where you can find many articles, videos, and books to download, is www.christophervasey, Vasey is V-A-S-E-Y, Christopher Vasey in one word, .ch.
Very good. Again, thank you so much. It's been always a pleasure to have you on the program.
Thank you. Goodbye.
We want to thank you, the listeners out there, for joining us. You can discover more at beyond50radio.com. That is the number 50. We do encourage you to sign up for our weekly e-newsletter. Keep up to date with what's going on in the world of Beyond 50 as well as our upcoming shows. I'm Daniel Davis. Thank you for joining us. This is the Beyond 50 radio program. And remember, live your day past halfway.